Another crazy week in the markets. We're going to sit back. We're going to wrap everything up, try to figure out what happened this week, what could potentially go on into next week. And this is all before, as always, I run all the stats and the algos over at Sets Edge Trading and then present the symbols there to members. These have been working very well. We've had a nice bounce. You know, the system is still underwater a little bit, way less than the market. And again, doing really, really well on some of these dip buys. So we're just going to continue to take trades. We're going to continue to follow our system. That's what we do as systematic traders. We don't need to guess what's going to happen. We just continue to take our trades. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. Over the long run, things should work out. But it's always good to know what's happening in the grand scheme of things. So that's why I always like to take a second on the weekends and zoom out. Not starting with Fartcoin, although, however, this has been a discretionary trade that I've been taking on, joking about on Twitter as I've been taking, and hilariously enough, it's been one of the best trades of the year. But let's just get started as always with Bitcoin. We're seeing some strength here. So we pulled down back to this breakout zone, pretty much tapped that a little bit above it, and then we've been rallying ever since. Now, the reason I always start with Bitcoin, the reason that Bitcoin's important, even if you're someone who's never going to trade crypto a day in your life and you think it's rat poison or whatever, Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett said, it's a good risk asset. So just like we saw with Fartcoin, we see Bitcoin going up, shows that there is some risk appetite coming on back and some risk appetite out there in the market. So that's good to see. Taking a look at the SP500. Here's my bold call, right? So we have the anchored VWAP, the 200-day moving average, this breakdown zone above, right? And if we remember this anchored VWAP, we were talking about this right in this zone right here. It's a warning that this could kind of act as resistance, and it did, right? That's what caused or stopped the market before things sold off. So people were kind of taking bets there that that would be the top, and it was for a little bit. And then, of course, I haven't been living under a rock. I'm sure everyone knows this massive 10% rally yesterday that was met with a 5% decline today. I would not be surprised, and kind of my bet for the next little bit is that we're going to be stuck within this range. Now, ideally, as someone who owns stocks and wants the market to go up, we break through this range to the upside, but we certainly don't have to. We can spend a long time in this particular range. So I think, again, I'm trying to make my trading as simple as possible. I have, again, algorithms that will say, look to buy this here, look to sell this here. So all that's sorted. So when it comes to the overall market, I'm trying to make things simple. So I think you mark the high of this day. It's 549. And then you mark this all-time low at 481. And as long as we're inside that range, we're range bound. You know, massive moves here, right? We were down. This is why I'm keep bringing out this tool, this measuring tool that I didn't use too much before the market got crazy. But that's right, low to high today, you're talking a 3% move on the market. Generally speaking, that's insane. Not recently, but generally speaking, that's insane. We had a 5% top to bottom move yesterday. So these moves are crazy. I did a whole video on how to adapt to that on the channel. You can go back and watch that. Essentially, trade often and very small or not at all and leave. Those are kind of to summarize. But as long as we're inside this range, I think volatility can start to decrease. I mean, we're seeing the VIX down 1% today. I think we could start to see some volatility kind of seep out of the market when we're inside this range, and that can lead to more markets moving independently. Everything moves together when volatility is high. Correlation is also high. When volatility settles off, you can start to have some moves independent of the market, which again for us as traders would be the best if we can get that to happen. What we're looking for again is this low to hold, the bottom of this range right here to end up holding. Then we could repair and start to move higher. I don't think this is a V bottom straight up to new all-time highs the way we've been seeing, simply because we don't have the Fed aggressively cutting rates or flooding money into the market or anything like that. So now if we go to TLT, we look at bonds. This is what made them flinch, right? This is what made them take away the tariffs. So the bond markets was absolutely collapsing. So the bond markets are holding on here. Now, because that made this collapse happen right here, then I think we need to make sure that we need to watch these bonds, because if this is what is changing policy on a macro level, then we need to make sure that this continues to hold. If this breaks and starts to sell, that could bring down the overall market, right? Stocks and bonds are not moving contrary anymore. They're moving together. So the bond market is kind of the tail wagging the dog of the stock market, so to speak. So watch this, watch these bonds at this kind of $85 low. If we lose that and start to break down, again, that could be bad there. Just another couple looks at some things that I want to talk about is just gold making new highs. This is why you don't fight trends in commodity. You don't try to buy, when a commodity or commodities as a whole start to trend, you stick with it because these things can go absolutely nuts. Again, full disclosure, I still own some gold, right? I took this breakout at 2000. I'd been talking about everywhere that anyone could listen. I'd love to say I'm still holding the whole thing, but it's certainly not the case. But we're seeing that again. So the traditional safe haven assets aren't working, right? But Bitcoin, I don't know why anyone said this would be an inflation hedge or whatever. It's just absolutely not. It's not a safe haven asset at all. That's moving with the markets. We're seeing in some degree gold moving with the markets. We're seeing in some degree bonds moving with the market. So this is what happens in crash events. Everything starts to move together in crash events. So, and again, unless you're someone who's comfortable trading these things, you could potentially just sit out and then wait for whatever to occur. What we're doing, again, like we're going to do every week, is things like this. So Palantir, this orange line right here, this is where we bought, had a nice bounce from there. Have no idea if these things are going to work ahead of time. We're just taking the trades as they come, right? If I go through some of these, right, DGX, we're up now a little bit on this one. We were underwater a little bit before. IDCC, right, buy at 182, up at 203. What happens every week, we have a myriad of different systems, but what a lot of them do, especially the short-term trading systems, is they look for potential areas to get involved. So I run the system. It says, if the stock gets to this price, we want to buy it for this reason. You can go read all about the different algorithms on Stats Edge Trading. When that occurs, an alert is sent. You got the symbols on the weekend anyway, so you can research them to your heart's content. But if you're just someone using the Discord alert bot, that alert is sent to you. You can make the decision there. For me, I'm just kind of, especially in this mode, I'm just holding my nose and I'm following the system. If it says buy, I'm generally buying as long as the market's not completely falling apart at the time. Just because I need to have that bastion of calmness where I don't want to speculate too much in the market. I'm spending a lot of time looking at the markets because everything's so crazy. I just want to be able to come in and make my trades and move on to the next one, right? And sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but overall we end up doing okay. So if you're interested in that, coming over to Stats Edge Trading, give us a try. Again, we are experimenting with some day trading systems. We're not quite there yet, but I've been building out and testing these systems for a long time. So if you're a day trader, very soon we're going to have something for you guys there as well. If you're in the room right now, you're getting the alerts for the bot. I just haven't done all the videos of what the systems are looking for yet because I want to see them and kind of feel them in real time first. But day trading is a good way to get around this volatility because it's something that benefits off of volatility. These short-term swings are a good way to deal with this volatility because they benefit off volatility, buying dips and selling rips. When it comes to just buying breakouts or stocks that are trending, that becomes a little bit harder. So if you're struggling in this market, I totally understand. A lot of people are. Again, I'm still personally in a little bit of drawdown, not nearly as much as the market, but in a little bit of drawdown as well. If you don't have a system in this market, please don't trade because it's one of those markets. It's very, very hard just to look at the chart and have any idea what's going to happen next because everything's news driven. The only thing that you can do to keep yourself like on the right path and sane is to have a system and kind of religiously follow that system. And then when the market becomes a little bit more interesting, then have a little fun, swing for the fences. We're just not there right now. So, Stats Edge Pro members, next, you're going to get a email soon on the weekend that will tell you what those symbols are. I'm also going to schedule a live Q&A. I'm going to actually do it. I'm going to try to do it during market hours, and we'll see how that goes as well. Just because we've tried other times, and right, trying to find the best time that works for everybody with that many members, it's pretty hard. Now, if you want to join, make sure you sign up for statsedgetrading.com. Until I talk to you next time, more so than even normal days, take a deep breath, get away from the screens. The market will be there next week.